preparing to live stream. I don't know that I've probably done this a couple, 2, 3 years ago, so I don't remember even how this works. Last time I did this, I think, was during the pandemic. Oh, meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Shalom and welcome to a live episode of Hebrew Voices. I guess that's what this is. I am here with Joe Dumond. Joe Dumond, I would describe as, well, I'll let him describe himself. But the last Hebrew Voice I did with him was called 2300 Days of Hell, if I remember correctly. And then we did a very short conversation when it was about a week or so, I believe, before October 7th, before the Hamas genocide invasion. And you made some kind of statement there about how, catastrophic things are going to happen. The sky is falling. Those are my words, right? Black Swan event. And I thought, yeah, right. When does that ever happen? Never in my lifetime, not to this degree, and beyond any expectation happened. So here I am with Joe Dumond. Shalom, Joe. And we are streaming live, and he is frozen. I think we're streaming live. Are you there, Joe? Did I lose you?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the
There you go.
technology. And
You're
you
back.
so Shalom, Joe. Thanks for joining the program.
Thank you for having me, Nehemia. You just froze up for a few minutes. I'm not sure what you were saying.
Oh, you were the one who froze. Hopefully, the
Oh,
audience heard
okay.
me and not you, but we don't know. I
Okay.
don't know how the mysteries of YouTube and streaming from Zoom.
Yeah, the last
So,
time we met, you were telling us I was having a Rev Shabbat with you and your sister and her family.
yep.
I think that was a week before October 7th.
Right, that sounds about right. And people can go see that, I think, on YouTube or TikTok or someplace like that. I don't remember where we were streaming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what you said you want to do an interview. I said, sure, let's get together. And then you invite me for supper and you go for a walk and you pull out your phone and is this the interview?
I
I,
guess it was. It was very what's the word I'm looking
Impromptu.
for? It was impromptu, which I
Yeah.
guess all my interviews, well, not all, but this one is sort of impromptu as well. And I'll just tell the audience that I had a dream 2 nights ago, and I woke up from the dream, and you were in the dream. You were center of the dream, and I had I would say, a feeling in my heart that I was supposed to bring you on the program and talk about whatever you wanted to talk about. That was my takeaway from the dream. You know how many times I've had that happen with
Zero.
interviews? This is the first one. So I'm like, we're in uncharted territory. I don't know where we're going with this.
You were looking
I'm,
for it. So when you told that to me, so here's the email Nehemia sends me. You want to do a podcast? No, how are you? How's your wife? How you been? What have you been doing? What do you do? Do
well,
you want to do a podcast?
that's partly my autism that I skip all the niceties. Don't
But
be offended
that's
by that.
Nehemia. I'm not offended. And I'm saying, what? Oh, yeah, of course I want to do a podcast with you. That's a silly question. So I write back, okay, where and what subject? And then he tells me about this dream. And how can I refuse a dream that God tells him to have an interview with me? So what are we
Well,
going to
and
talk
I
about?
don't want to say that I heard an audible voice like Abimelech in Genesis 14, you know, go to Jove where he is a prophet, right? No, that wasn't what happened. It was just the kind of feeling the feeling I had at the end of this is I don't know what this is about. This is really weird, but it seems like Joe has a message that he's supposed to communicate, and I'm supposed to help convey that. So I'm
Yeah,
going to let you talk. By the way, I'm
you're
also
giving me
kind of losing my
goosebumps again.
voice. I'm kind of losing my voice. I've been in the hospital a couple times with some allergic issues. So all the more reason to
How is your
let you
health
talk.
though? How is your health though? Before we
My
get
health is
started on
great when
stuff,
the doctors don't put me in the hospital. This was entirely doctor induced. So,
okay?
but anyway,
Because
let's
I'm heading
yeah.
to see the cardiologist here in 2 weeks. So
Okay. Wow.
we're all
All
getting
right.
older.
We are. Yeah. Well, I'll be praying for you. So, Joe, what message would you like to share with the audience about anything that's on your heart?
I'm kind of scared because if this is a dream, Jehovah set this up, and I believe he has. You and I first met. Do you remember the first time we met?
I remember we were walking outside of Zion's gate in that little narrow thing between the two walls. That's what I
Yes.
remember.
That was the second time we met.
Oh, that was the second time. Okay. It's been
First
a
time
while.
we met, I met you at Lansing, Michigan.
Okay.
And you were sitting at the table in front of the hall, and I was early. It's about 4 o'clock. The meeting started at 7. I just wanted to know if I was at the right place. You didn't even look up for your phone, and they said, "Yeah, this is the place, and it's at 7 o'clock." And I didn't know who you were. I'd never even heard your name before. And then I see you get up on the stage and dressed as a rabbi, and who is this guy? So, but I want to say this publicly. You changed my life that day, that night. That was the first time I heard about the crescent moon and the barley. You and Nehemia, or you and Michael Root. The first time I heard that God had a name, you blew me out of the water. I bought everything on Michael's table that night, and I was just stunned. So thank you. Thank you for sticking your neck out there so many years ago. You changed my life, and now there's a bunch of people listening to what I teach and talk about, and it's mostly the same stuff you do.
And wow, that would have been
But you're grounded.
2005. That's when that speaking tour was. So
Yes,
19 years ago. Wow. All right.
yeah. But because of that, uh, 2 months later, you send out an email. I started following you on an email then. You send out an email that Passover is going to be 30 days early, and you blew my cover. I was with the Worldwide Church of God, and I thought I could keep both calendars at the same time, one day apart. Nobody would know any different. But you were 30 days early. And I wrote you a hate email, and I apologized for changing the calendar. But I didn't understand it then. But what was happening was Jehovah was setting me up for a test. Was I going to keep the barley crescent moon calendar? Or was I going to continue to do the Hillel calendar, even though I knew better? But at the time, I couldn't prove which one was right. And the same scriptures for both. The week before Passover, Jehovah showed me what Yeshua said, no man knows the day or the hour. And once I understood that, it blew me away. Of course, it's a crescent moon. Nobody knows the day or the hour. That's the Feast of Trumpets. Of course, that's the simple answer. But it started with you and Michael. And I want to thank you, because
Well, you
otherwise,
know what? Some people have never heard of you, aren't familiar with you. What's your website so people can find out more?
my website is sightedmoon.com, sightedmoon.com, and YouTube and Amazon, Joseph F. Dumond. You search that. Uh, if you want to put in false prophet, you can get all kinds of people that hate my guts. You can learn everything you want
Do
about
you
me out
claim to
there.
be a prophet?
Never.
Okay. So how could you
What
be a
what is
false
a
prophet
prophet?
if you don't claim?
What is a prophet though?
Ooh, that's like a whole discussion. What is a
It's a very
prophet by your? So just so the audience understands, I'm a Karaite Jew, but you're coming also from a New Testament perspective. So is there a different understanding in the New Testament of what a prophet is than my Old Testament understanding?
my
My old,
understanding.
yeah,
My
go ahead.
understanding is that a prophet is anybody who speaks Torah.
Oh, okay. So that's not my understanding of prophet. My understanding of
Oh,
prophet, Jeremiah says, "Who stands in the council of Jehovah? Let him make heard." I'm paraphrasing here, but basically, somebody who hears the word of Jehovah either directly from Jehovah or from one of his angels, that is a prophet. Jeremiah's description is he's standing in the throne room, to use our terminology, and he's eavesdropping on the conversations between Jehovah and what we call the angels. Isaiah describes the same thing, right? Jehovah, and then Michaihu in First Kings, I want to say it's 22. He says, Jehovah says, "Who will go for us?" And one of the spirits comes forth, and Michaihu's overhearing. Avimelech in Genesis 14 is not a prophet, even though God's speaking to him in a dream. He says, "Go to Abraham; he'll pray for you, ki navihu, for he is a prophet." Well, wait a minute, isn't Avimelech a prophet? Now, maybe there's different definitions of prophet, right? And the New Testament might have different. Maimonides has a vast theology about different levels of prophecy, right?
yeah, I
Um,
didn't go there. I think I
okay.
found someplace in the Bible where it tells me that if you're speaking Torah, you're prophesying the word of God.
So maybe prophesying is different in the New Testament than prophesying in the Tanakh. That's meaning
I
meaning
don't
there's
know.
semantic shifts all the time, right?
Yeah,
Which means the meaning of words changes over time. In the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, the word Pesach is always a sacrifice. In the New Testament, it talks about the feast of Passover, which my upbringing in Judaism was the Feast of Passover, right? So,
Yeah.
so the meaning of words changes over time. By the way, you told me something that kind of shocked me, and I've been out of the calendar, um, let's say the guts of the calendar, and dealing with it since October 2nd, 2016. And you
And
just told me it's the last.
At Passover 2016, you told me you
Yeah.
were getting out in person in Israel.
Okay, well, I didn't say that publicly, so that was 6 months earlier.
No, you said it to me
Anyway,
privately.
right. So, which has now been revealed for the first time. Thanks there. But live on YouTube. No, but you just told me that this is the seventh day of Sukkot for you. Today is August 26, 2024. I'm going to be celebrating the seventh day of Sukkot in about 2 months. So, how did you get? And I actually literally don't know the answer because I'm staying out of it. How did you get
Yeah.
today to be the seventh day of Sukkot 2 months early by my reckoning, which may be wrong, but
So, as you know, and you've broadcast this on your teachings, the discrepancy of what is Aviv barley has been going on since, well, since the temple was destroyed. And during the Middle Ages, you have Karaites going back and forth, and they're arguing over what is Aviv barley. And
Mhm.
it continues today. There's no different. So my qualification, what is Aviv barley, is it's got to be ready or roastable to begin to make the wave offering. And basically, I've learned most of this from you. We differ a little bit on what is Aviv. So this year, I and Randy Cates went to Israel in February. We were down in Be'eri. We went down and visited the memorial where the rave was slaughtering, and could see all the asphalt where the cars were burnt, and it was a very emotional trip. But down in Birdie, we showed people video of the barley that we had. We had, we believe, enough for an omer of barley. I know Devora goes by fields of barley, and Joel Halevi goes by one field of barley, I believe, that's brown and ripe. And that's where the difference comes in. So I went there personally. I had another guy go with me, and we found barley that was Aviv. And so we announced it. We looked at, had other people look at, are we right? Can we really be that far ahead? And that's what we did. So I have to go with what I see. I can't deny what I
so
saw.
so guys, there's an interview I do with Nadia Vidru, who is a or Vidro, maybe I'm mispronouncing her name. She's a scholar at University College London, although her office is at Cambridge. And it's an interview I did with her about Karaites in the Middle Ages and having different understandings of Aviv barley. So, all right. So Joe, last time we did a broadcast, like I said, it was a week before October
October
7th,
7th.
the worst event that's happened in my lifetime, really the worst thing since the Holocaust that's happened to the Jewish people. Uh, wow. And you made some, I don't know, predict you.
I dropped some big hints there, but I thought this was just a short little 5-minute video, and I wasn't trying to give away the whole teaching at one time. I thought we were going to talk later that week. So yeah, there's a lot more to cover to follow up with that.
Well, let's jump forward now a year, almost a year. And look, I haven't really delved into your teachings that much, to be honest with you. And you have written thousands or tens of thousands
You're
of
not
pages of
following me
books.
tooth and nail, what?
No, but give us the give us the what's the word? The in a
Cole's
nutshell,
notes?
the nutshell, no pun intended. Give us in the nutshell, what do you think is going to happen in the next month, year, 10 years? What do you see in your prediction? And obviously you're saying it's not prophecy in the sense of Jeremiah, is it? What you're saying, meaning you haven't seen this in a vision, or have you? I don't know. I'm asking.
No, no.
Okay.
I'm not so like the big joke here is I'm not a strong believer in visions and dreams. And sure enough, you have a vision or dream to have an interview with me, and they're all
And I'm
making
a
fun
big
of me here.
skeptic too. So when it comes to that
Yeah.
kind of thing, man, there's the classic statement like, was that God speaking to me, or was it bad pizza? And I tend to have a lot of bad pizza. So
I'm gonna get
what
pizza jokes from now on.
yeah. So it's not my joke, it's an old one. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you, based on your understanding, where are we going?
Okay,
Where's the world
so
going?
in give me a moment here. In 2008, when we first met, to talk, when we knew who we were, I gave you a great big box of material and you looked at it and rolled your eyes and said, oh no, what am I going to do with all this stuff? But this subject that I'm talking about, you know that I've been chasing this since the beginning in 2005, is about the Sabbatical and Jubilee years. That's really the core
Sabbatical
of
and
my ministry.
Jubilee. Let's start with a
The
really
Shemitah and the
basic.
Yovel.
Let's start with a really basic understanding. What is sabbatical and what is Jubilee? I know there was a Christian guy out there teaching a few years back. He had a book about the Shemitah. So what's the Shemitah and what is the Yovel? What are the sabbatical and Jubilee year? Let's
Well,
assume
the
people know nothing.
Shemitah or Shemitah, whichever way you want to
Yeah.
pronounce it, is every 7 years. So we're talking about Leviticus 25. And Leviticus 25 tells you that every 7 years the land shall have a rest. And then it's just like the Shavuot, 7 Sabbaths or 7 sabbatical years. And then after the 49th year, you have a 50th year. And that is also a holy year. So that's when the land is restored to the people. And that's what I've been teaching. Now, it's not just about that. I've been able to prove through history, the Bible, tombstones. We've got, I don't know, 40 some odd tombstones from Zoar now. Many of them you don't have or you don't even know about yet. And that's what the latest book was actually supposed to be about, but it kept going back to the Mishnah and where the Mishnah has changed things, so I had to do the calendar issue. So we'll have that book out hopefully this fall. But I document every sabbatical and jubilee year throughout history and have them all line up without force fitting them, without hammering the puzzle pieces together. I just show you, here's where they are, and this is how they work. But some of them are according to Hillel, and some of them are according to the crescent moon and barley calendar. And that's where the discrepancy comes. That's why Wacholder, Zuckerman, Schur, and Marcus were the known authorities on the Shemitah and Jubilee years, dismissed all of them because they couldn't understand the dating and the different calendars. I happen to be raised in both and recognize the difference really quick. So it made it easier for me to figure them out. So that's what I do, and then that's what I teach. We use 2 Kings 19:29 to proof. That's the beginning. And from that scripture alone, you can count every sabbatical year from 701 BC, forward and backward, and every Jubilee year from 700 BC, forward and backward.
All right, so
That's
before let's open up 2 Kings, what you just quoted. In fact, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you to open up and read it. But before we do that, so just for the audience who isn't following, maybe, just as we have a weekly Shabbat, which is you work 6 days and rest on the seventh, there is a annual Shabbat in the Torah, in Leviticus 25 and other places as well. And you plant your field for 6 years and you let the land lie fallow on the seventh. And then there are 7 Shabbats, annual Shabbats, which then culminate in the Yovel, the Jubilee year, which is the 50th year. And by the way, there's an ancient debate in the or discussion in the Talmud about whether the or in other sources as well, about whether the 50th year is year 1 or whether it's year 0, and then this next Jubilee begins with the 51st year. In other words, that's not self-evident necessarily.
And that's
And
Rabbi
then
Yehuda.
there's this statement in the Talmud that when the temple was destroyed, the second temple in the year 70, or they say the year 68, which is where life gets really
Or
interesting.
69.
Or 69 according to Maimonides, right? So it gets a little bit complicated there. So so they say then the Jubilee was abolished. Now where you came in, and this is something I'd looked at before you and kind of hit a dead end, is there are these tombstones from the southern end of the Dead Sea from a place called Zoar or Tsoar, and people were dying in the 4th century and the 5th century CE or AD, meaning after the temple was destroyed hundreds of years. And they're saying he died in such and such a year of the destruction of the temple, which was, the 3rd year of the sabbatical cycle or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then there was one from Sidon or someplace like that in Lebanon.
Elbeck.
Baalbek. Okay, there you go. And so at the time I looked at it, maybe there was 20 or something or 30, and you're saying they've now published 40 of these tombstones. So you've
They've
actually
published
accumulated more
100.
evidence, 100. So you've accumulated more evidence there I just want to give you credit, right? I looked at this 20 years ago or so, or maybe 15 years ago, and I found everything that was available at the time. You've actually been following this, and more evidence has been published, and you've come to certain conclusions. All right, now I'll let you
Yeah.
go to Second Kings. What do you have in Second Kings?
Okay. Second, well, just one thing. I asked this lady, elderly lady, to go and, search out this footnote that I found in one of the tombstones and just search it out for me. I was busy doing
You mean
other
it was
things.
a study
I
about
didn't
the
expect,
tombstones? You don't mean it was in the
it was a
tombstones?
study about the
There wasn't a
tombstones, and
footnote
there
on
was
the
a foot,
tombstones. Okay.
yeah, and not on the tombstone, no.
Right.
And I didn't expect to hear back for her for 3, 4, 5 months, right? She
Mhm.
comes back in 3 weeks with 100 tombstones.
Wow.
And where,
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. And she's here in front of me now listening.
All
So
right.
she's excited about this. Anyway, 2 Kings 19:29. This shall be a sign to you. So a sign is a Sabbath of some sort. You shall eat this year such things that grow of itself. In the second year, what springs from the same. In the third year, sow and reap, plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. Okay, is that close to
Hold
what
on.
you
Let
say
me
in
let me
Hebrew?
pull it up. I've got to pull it up in the Hebrew. So it's Second Kings 19:29, and we have here V'zelech ha'ot, and this is for you to sign. Achol ha'shana safiach. Eat this year after growth. We can talk about what that is. Ubashana ha'shenit sachish, and the second year, essentially volunteer grain. Ubashana shlishit zeru v'kitzur, and in the third year plant and harvest. V'nitu chamim v'yichlu pelyam, and plant vineyards and eat their fruit. And this is what's the context here? So there had been, if I remember correctly, oh, this is from
It's
Isaiah.
the attack on Hezekiah by Sennacherib.
Okay, so basically the Assyrians had invaded Israel and they devastated the land. And there's the famous Lachish, what's it called? The Tavlit relief. It's the Lachish relief, which shows Judean prisoners being taken prisoner by the Assyrians, and they're being carried off to Babylonia or someplace like that. And it's interesting because there's three people being crucified there or impaled on the Lachish relief. There's a replica at the Israel Museum and in the archaeology department at Hebrew University, but the original is actually in the British Museum. I saw it once a few years back. Um, and they found it in Nineveh in what today is northern Iraq. So okay, so the land's been devastated. All the vineyards have been pulled up and the fields burned. And he's saying you're going to eat the aftergrowth, which what do you understand from that? Um,
You're going to eat what grows of itself.
right,
Whatever comes up
right.
this year, you're
So
allowed
in
to eat
other words, when you're harvesting the crop, some seeds fall, and those are going to pop up, even though you didn't plant a crop because
in
you
the
were under
sabbatical year.
siege. So you assume this is a sabbatical year, not that it was a siege. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not looking at the siege part. I'm looking at what is he allowed to do. The prophecy is you can eat what grows of
Mm,
itself, but you just don't plant. The
okay.
second part, it's the same. You eat what grows of itself in the second year, you just don't plant. But in the
Mm.
third year, you plant.
So it's not
So,
obvious to most readers, and you could be right, but it's not
yeah,
obvious to most readers that this has anything to do with sabbatical year. What most readers, I think, would understand, and actually, guys, post in the comments, tell me if you agree. My understanding of this, maybe I'm
we're
wrong,
going to have a
is
majority vote here. Or what?
no, but no, you're offering an interpretation. I'm offering another one, right?
Yeah,
And the people who say, "Well, we just read it, we don't interpret it." You're interpreting it. Your interpretation's implicit. You don't realize that
yeah.
you're interpreting it. So my understanding of this, my interpretation is that this is talking about they were under siege, and they couldn't plant, and so they have no choice but to eat what's left over. The next year, they're not going to have a whole lot of seed. So because right, like how you save seeds from your harvest. Well, now we're just barely surviving. So it won't be till the third year that they're going to plant. But you understand this is sabbatical and a jubilee here, or what are you saying?
2 years that you don't plant back to back.
Okay, so that's a
So that's
sabbatical
a
and a
49
jubilee.
and a
In other
50.
words, this is like Shavuot when you have Shavuot on Saturday, and then you have you have Shabbat on Saturday, and then on Sunday you have Shavuot. So there's 2 days in a row that you're not working, and it's funny because I've had messianics tell me, well, that's impossible. You can't have 2 days in a row. That's not what God intended. And that's why they want to follow the rabbinical system of Shavuot. But in the rabbinical system, sometimes it's on a Sunday too, right? It's just
Yeah.
about once every 7 years on average, right? Or maybe a
Yeah.
little bit different. But so either way, you'll have 2 days in a row that are non-work days. Here it's 2 years in a row that are not planting, which is definitely what Leviticus 25 describes. Okay, go.
Okay, so this is, the Assyrians record this date. There's only two dates that the Israelites are recorded in history. One is the Battle of Karkar, and the other one is this date, 701 BC. So it's the most
What
documented,
was the first one? Battle
the
of?
Battle of Karkar in 853 when Ahab is killed.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so and the other one is this one, and that's the only way we're able to put the Israelite and Jewish kings into a historical chronology. Otherwise, we don't know where they fit because they left no
We
records.
don't know relative to our current chronology. Now, I'll just throw it out there that the rabbis claim they do know, and they have a different chronology. But you're saying secular historians have gone through thousands or millions of Assyrian tablets and Babylonian tablets, and they've been able to cross-reference these two historical events mentioned in the Tanakh and the Hebrew Bible with the Assyrian chronology, which then has been fit into our current chronology, where this year is 2024. That's really what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, the as I began to do this current book, The Stones Cry Out,
Mhm.
we kept going back to the Mishnah, which is the one written by Rabbi Judah in around 180, a redacted one around 180,
Mhm.
began by Rabbi Akiva in 133 or before that.
Mhm.
But there's these mistakes that are incorporated into the Mishnah, then the Talmud, the Babylonian Jerusalem Talmud, and then the Mishnah Torah by Rambam, and have now become part of their Torah or their calendar. But they're mistakes that they brought in, which
Mhm.
began in the Maccabean times. So that's what this first book is about, documenting this chronology step by step and how these mistakes come on to and bringing it down today. But
Back up here. So I was a bit distracted. I was making sure the video is actually live. Looks like we have 93 people currently watching. Hopefully, more will listen to the podcast later this week. So, so, so let me understand what you're saying here. So you're saying that the rabbinical date where we're now in 57, I want to say
87,
83.
83, I don't know.
No, I
I
think it's
thought it was
57.
87.
Tafshin Nun Gimel, we're about to go into, not Nun Gimel, sorry. Tafshin Pei Gimel, we're about to go into Tafshin Pei Daled. 5783, we're about to go into 5784. So you're saying and that actually is first, I think, formulated, or the earliest source we have is Seder Olam Rabbah, which is from maybe the 3rd century or so. So that chronology is wrong, is what you're
But
saying.
okay, so just explain Seder Olam because they don't know what you're talking about. That's
Right.
Rabbi
Well, there's
Yosef.
a midrash called Seder Olam Rabbah, the Great Order of the World, and
Yeah.
there they tell us, for example, that the Persian period, I want to say, was 54 years or something like that, and secular historians say no, it was much more than 54 years. In other words, they say the temple wasn't destroyed in five. This is the rabbis. The
Yeah.
temple wasn't destroyed in 586 BCE, like secular historians say. They say it was destroyed about 150. The first temple, rather, was destroyed about 150 years later, and then part of that is
Okay.
this kind of ideal that the first temple, I want to say, was 410 years and the second was 420, or vice versa. I don't remember, right? Whereas
No,
they,
what they're trying to do is take the Daniel 9 prophecy of 490 years and the 483 year, apply it to Simon Bar Kokhba to make him the Messiah.
that's
So in
really
order to,
interesting, because I'll get Christians who will say, obviously Jesus is the Messiah, because the order to rebuild Jerusalem in Daniel fits exactly with the chronology that we present to you. And then my question is, how do you know that chronology is correct? And they have no idea. They just read
ah,
it in the encyclopedia, right?
yeah, so the
And
first ones
that
would use the Daniel
encyclopedia,
9.
well, but that chronology is based on the assumption that Jesus is the Messiah. It's a bit of a circular argument. And you're saying the rabbinical chronology is based
Yeah.
on Bar Kokhba being the Messiah, which, if you believe he's the Messiah, great, and if you don't, then that's just, circular argument, right?
Well, yeah.
I don't think
So
anybody
they
says
found
he's
out
the
afterwards he
Messiah.
was the Messiah, but
Right? Well, I mean, yeah, nobody today says Bar
no.
Kokhba was the Messiah, but people were willing to die. Hundreds of thousands of people were willing to die for their belief that
Yeah.
Bar Kokhba was the Messiah. They died in the Battle of Beitar. including Rabbi
But the
Akiva.
Daniel 9 prophecy was first used by the Maccabees to prove that I believe
Mm,
John Hyrcanus was the Messiah.
okay.
So this Daniel 9 prophecy has been used multiple times.
Used and abused is what you're saying.
That's right. And if
Okay.
you, so we've got one book, the 2300 Days of Hell, which takes the Daniel 9 prophecy and dissects it word by word and shows you the whole history of this prophecy. And it's not about Yeshua. It's not about Jesus. It's not about that at all.
Who's it about?
King David.
Help me out here. I haven't heard this explanation. So,
Sorry,
so
I'm
King
at the
King
fly
David in
here.
his first incarnation, or is he going to come back
Okay,
in the
so
resurrection?
okay. Well, I'm trying to get back to our meeting
Let
where
let's
we
let's all right.
in October. But
People can go
no,
read the 2300 Days of Hell. It's a book that's available. All right. Let's
but
go back
we
to
also need to
October.
cover this quickly too. So anyway, the Second Kings 1929, counting by seven, will line up with every sabbatical year and all the tombstones, all of them. Even the Baalbek one that I had trouble with, I think I can make it work.
Mhm.
So that's almost all of them. So I'll leave the Baalbek one out because it's controversial. And the Jubilee years, also from 700 BC, line up with the Jubilee years mentioned in the tombstones of Zoar. They all
So
fit.
here's why this is
So
important.
now,
So let me give it a little bit of background. So what Maimonides has a long, elaborate discussion about when the sabbatical year is, and he says in the end, all of these explanations are not important
hang on, whoa,
because
wait.
we have a
Hang on.
tradition of
No,
when
no,
it is.
wait.
Okay, I jumped ahead.
You jumped ahead because when I came to, you and I did an interview in 2018,
Okay.
and you surprised that one on me. I never knew about that.
Oh,
And
okay.
you were about to show me that maybe I might not be right. And Maimonides, now continue, shows you that my dates are right.
Oh, so anyway, he comes up when he says it doesn't matter all of our explanations. And look, it's very involved, and I guess people can go listen to that interview, right, from 2300 Days of Hell that we did on somewhere. So, but he says we have a tradition, and it's a reliable tradition about when the sabbatical year is. But then you have tombstones that predate Maimonides by over half a millennium, and you're saying they do line up with Maimonides or they don't?
They line it with Maimonides, and you read it to me, says that this year or last year was a sabbatical year, but by tradition, we keep it the year and a half before or a year
Right. So
before.
his tradition doesn't line up with the tombstones.
No.
Okay.
But
And so
he admitted
but
that
he
this year or last year was a sabbatical year, which
right.
does line up with all the tombstones.
Okay. All right.
And that also lines up with
But
Second Kings
but you
19.
still have a tradition. So you still have two traditions. One is the Sabbat, one is the tombstones, as you understand them, and the other is Maimonides telling us about a tradition around the year, give or take 1200, and that tradition is different than the tradition that was around in the fourth century, the fifth century when these people were dying, and somebody was writing on their tombstone, year three of the sabbatical cycle, right? That was obviously a tradition that was around, or unless they just made it up, right? Which there's no
That
reason.
same tradition that they have,
Mhm.
that Maimonides taught about 1177
Mhm.
AD, that same
Okay.
tradition is continued to today. And the sabbatical year today that the Jews keep is 1.5 years before
Okay, so that's
Second Kings
important. So if
19.
you go Google when is Shemitah or when is Shemitah, when is the sabbatical year, you're going to find out the rabbinical date, which is really it's not even the rabbinical date. It's the date of Maimonides from the year around 1177 that he had heard from one of the Jews who came from Israel. By the way, there's a bit of a problem there. And the problem is that the Jews were wiped out from Israel when the Crusaders came. Or I want to say it was 1099. They killed all the Jews in Israel. Now, there was a community of Jews from Israel who had been living in Cairo, where Maimonides wrote this, for centuries, even before the Crusaders. So when he says there's a tradition from the land of Israel, what he really means is he heard from the synagogue of the Shamma'in, which has nothing to do with Shammai, right? It's Ashams, which is the Arabic word for the Levant, right, which includes Israel, right? Or it was called also the Yerushalmim synagogue, the synagogue of the Jerusalemites, right? So he heard from the people in the synagogue of the Jerusalemites in Cairo, this is when the sabbatical is, and we know because we came from Israel. But there were no, as far as I know, maybe there was one or two little communities up in the Galilee in the mountains. Like Picayune claims that they were never wiped out by the Crusaders because they were on the top of a hill, and the Crusaders didn't bother to go up there, right? But basically, there were virtually no Jews in Israel in the year 1177. Um, so that's an interesting little hiccup in his explanation, right?
Yeah, it
So,
not really. The facts speak for themselves. But
okay.
so getting back here, why would God tell you to interview me today? What's so if you go to my website, we have all these Sabbatical and Jubilee years. You can download them for free. Just go to the library, you'll find them there. You can download them for free, or you can order this booklet from Amazon. And I'm not trying to do a commercial here. You need to know this because it's important. Why would God have Nehemia Gordon, Dr. Nehemia Gordon from Hebrew University and all these credentials
Well, I got
interview
my
Joe Dumars?
doctorate from Bar-Ilan University, but go ahead.
Okay, okay. But why would he tell you to interview me? Like, because there's something that you don't know about the Jubilees. They're prophetic, they reveal prophecy. The same way the holy days reveal prophecy, end time prophecy. If you don't know the holy days, then all you're doing is guessing. And that's what Christians do when you don't keep the holy days. You're
So
just guessing it.
I think it was CNN that had this motto, news you can use. So what's the give me a practical thing of what's going to happen, and look, you could be wrong, but for based on what you believe is going to happen in the next month and the next year and maybe the next 10 years. Give me that. So what's a takeaway here that something people can actually test, right? In other words,
Yeah.
they'll look back and say, "Oh, can you believe Joe said that? He's so silly from 10 years ago."
Yeah.
Or they'll look back and say, Joe knew it was going to happen."
Joe Dumars was shutting down SutterMoon.com in 2020 if nothing happened. We've been warning people about 2020 since I started this in 2005. That's based on the Daniel 9 prophecy. 70 weeks, 70 jubilees. It's not weeks, it's not 490 years, it's 70 times 49, 70 feast of weeks. The word there is Shabuah. It's the female word for Shavuot,
Hmm.
right? And I'm not a literal scholar and I don't speak Hebrew, but Daniel is told to hide the books. So how do you hide the books? Put it in plain sight. 70 Jubilee cycles are for your people, all 12 tribes, not just the Jews. It's all 12 tribes. 70 weeks from when? It's not Ahasuerus, it's not Cyrus, it's not Darius. It's from the burning bush. When when Moses was told by Jehovah to go and get the people, 7 times he's told, go, go. And Moses got all these excuses, go and get the people. So the only way you can know what year that is by doing the chronology in Genesis according to a 49-year Jubilee cycle and counting them out. We've done that. Rabbi
Wait, so
Yehuda was
so so
correct.
hold on. So
Leviticus 25:2.
you say year 50 is also year one of the next cycle.
Yes,
Okay? Just want to clarify that.
yes.
Okay. Where's the
So
news I
when you
can
do the
use, Joe? What's
chronology,
going to happen in the next month? Is Iran going to
I
start
gotta
World
give you
War
the lead up
III?
here because you already know what I told you, but you don't remember it.
Probably, huh?
So
I remember one thing you told me, but you haven't made it public, and I'm not going to share it. But
yeah, well, okay. I think I know what you're saying. I'm not saying that
let's not
either.
go there. All right.
No.
Go.
Okay, so 70 weeks. And then how do you prove that? It says 7 and 62. It doesn't say 62 and 7. It's not the seventh place at the last 7 years, like most Christians try to say it. It's 7 and 62. 7 Shabuas, 7 Jubilee cycles, and then Messiah the Prince will appear. So you count from the burning bush, 7 Jubilee cycles, and we got it. We got those all laid out for you in this book. And do you want me to show you? I can show you here online. Do you want me to
Show
share
me.
the screen?
Yeah, yeah. This is the ball's in your court.
Jehovah told
Bear
you
in
to do.
mind, it looks like you're a little fuzzy here. So if you're showing something with really high resolution, you might have to make it big. And I'm actually looking here online at the video. And we have some people in the chat.
Can you
Um,
see that?
yeah, I can see it. I hope the audience can see it. Let me try to
Okay.
refresh and see if people can see
So
it.
this is the charts I told you about there that you can have.
Mhm.
They are there. You can get them free, print them off yourself, do it in color. So the Exodus takes place at 1379 BC. Can you see it? Do I need to blow it up? I'll make
The
it bigger.
Exodus,
We're
it's
looking
always
at the
good to blow
charts on the
stuff up.
left-hand side.
Well, to make it
How's
large.
that?
Yep. So the Exodus is where?
Okay. 1379 in the blue here.
That's the Exodus from Egypt, according to your reckoning.
That-
And that's minus 1379. What does
yeah,
that
so
mean? 1379
that's
BCE?
just BC years. Yeah,
Okay, and
BC.
there's no year
BC.
zero, right? Or is there in your counting?
That's right.
Okay.
Right? So 7 Jubilee cycles, and you will see the Messiah the Prince. So we count 1 Jubilee cycle. So in the middle, I got 1, 2, 3. There's 4, 5, 6, 7. And after 7 Jubilee cycles, there is King David born in 1040 BC. He's anointed Messiah the Prince. Messiah means Mashiach, means anointed. It doesn't mean Jesus. Messiah the Prince is born in 1040. He's anointed by Samuel as a young shepherd boy somewhere in the second sabbatical cycle. We don't know when. He's anointed by Judah when he becomes king over Judah in 1010 BC. And then again in 103 or 1003 BC by all of Israel.
So I just realized something. You're reading this right to left?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
trying to be Hebrew.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to publish this when I did that. I was just,
Gotcha.
it's just me doing my little thing,
But
right?
then the one with the Hebrew years is left to right, isn't it? 12, 28,
No,
42,
okay, so this one
24.
over here is also from right to left, bottom
Oh.
to top. This one starts from the counting of Adam. So we go back here to the creation of Adam. And Adam, whoops, one
So
more.
what year are we in now, according to your reckoning?
Adam was born or created in year 1.
So
Right
what year
there
are
on the
we in
bottom
now
right-hand corner.
from the creation, from Adam?
1 second, 1 second.
Oh,
So
I
everything
just
on the
want the
right-hand
answer.
side, everything on the right-hand side is going to be counting from Adam. Everything on the left-hand side, come on, how come this isn't moving?
You've got a little thing on the bottom there that you need to drag.
There we
It's
go.
because you're on Macintosh. Who can understand Macintosh?
Now what happened?
Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we got a problem. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'll go back. No, I gotta go out again. 1 second.
So look, we have a comment here in the chat from someone named can't read their name, but he says 70 week was fulfilled long ago by Christ. What do you say
Yeah,
about
right.
that? No,
No,
what,
it's
explain why that person you disagree. What's
well
your
because he's
and the 70
believing that
weeks of Daniel he means and you're talking
he's
about, right?
talking about the 70 weeks of Daniel being the creation from Azaharias or 483 years to Christ's Jesus's start of his ministry, 3.5 year ministry, and now he's got 3.5 years in the when he returns. It's called the gap theory. It's created by Julius Africanus.
So when is the 70 weeks fulfilled according to you?
It's not been fulfilled yet.
Oh, but when will it be fulfilled? You
Well, that's what I'm trying to show you. I'm
Okay.
trying to let you.
And by the way,
prove this.
just so it's clear for the audience, you do believe in Yeshua, right?
Yes,
You just don't think the
but
prophecy about him was fulfilled yet in Daniel, or
no, it's not about him at all.
it's not about him at all? Okay.
Let me get back
Go
in. I
ahead.
just
Go
got back
back.
up here.
All right.
If you keep jumping to these different places, there's a base you got to have, and if you don't got the base, you're all over the place with Jesus is what it's talking about, and it's not talking about him. So, okay, we're going to go back here to the seven Jubilee cycles for Daniel, or David, sorry. Then it says in the prophecy, 62 Jubilee cycles. So if we count 62 from here, that brings us to 1996. There's the 69th Jubilee cycle. 1996 was the end of that Jubilee cycle, and that's the beginning of the 70th Jubilee cycle, which is the one we're in now. So you ask what year it is. It's the year 2024, and that is equal to the year 5860 since the creation of Adam.
5860.
So the one on the right
Okay.
is equal to the one on the left.
So the rabbis say we're in
Okay,
5783 and you say we're in 5860. Okay, gotcha.
that's right. So there's a different, we can do that. We can show why that's happening.
Okay.
We don't have time today to do everything.
No, no. I'm waiting for the news I can use. How do I
Okay,
plan my life in a practical sense if I think you're right?
yes. I just lost it again. I got to get this back up because you do need to see it.
So, like in other words, if I and this sounds really bad, but if I thought a year from now, the world economy was going to collapse, I would go take out a 30-year mortgage because I'd never have to pay it back. That'd probably be a bad decision because I might end up regretting it. But so
Well, I'm not here. Somebody else took my information and tried to make a book about the economy, and they fell apart in their face because they
okay.
didn't get all the details.
Look, and this
You can see
happened in
that there
world
now,
history.
again?
In the year 1843, there were people who didn't plant, or 1842, who didn't plant their crops in the United States because they believed Jesus was coming back in 1843, and
Yeah,
apparently they were disappointed. They called it the great. It's actually called in history. Wasn't it called the Great Disappointment or something? Um,
yep, yep.
so, and then they thought it was 1844, and these people didn't plant their crops for 1844, and and they were financially devastated. So, guys, this could be wrong. Please don't make financial decisions based on this, but also it's good to be prepared.
So we are now in the 70th week spoken
It's
of by
it's kind of
Daniel
like
9.
Obama who says that
That,
the oceans are rising, but he has like a $60 million beach house, like 1 foot above the ocean. So he doesn't really believe it's the oceans are rising. Okay, or he's not. Anyway, go ahead.
I believe this.
I
I
believe you.
believe this.
I believe you believe it.
I believe
Go on.
this. So Daniel 9 goes on to say in verse 27, I believe it's 27. Let me just pull it up here and I'll read it.
Daniel 9:27. Let me pull it up on my Tanakh here.
So
Daniel.
Daniel, oops. And we're going to spend a lot of time in Daniel, so this is good to know. Daniel 9:27. Then ye shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. That's another issue. We'll just skip over that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle of the week, in the midst of the week, in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
the Shavuot, in the middle of the Jubilee. When's the middle of the Jubilee, Nehemia?
Halfway through this. Oh, the
What year is
Jubilee.
that?
I don't know. Based, if I knew, this
Well,
would be my book and not
1996.
yours.
1996 was the last Jubilee year.
Okay.
2044 will be the 49th year. The
Okay.
middle is 2020.
All right.
Did anything
All
happen
right.
in 2020?
There was a global pandemic.
In the midst of the Jubilee, in the midst of the Shabuah, the week, he shall bring end to sacrifice and offering. I'm reading the English,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And on the wings of abominations, plural, shall be one who makes desolate.
Okay.
So when you seen me and took me out to your sister's place last October, what did I
Mm-hmm.
tell you? Why did I tell you I was there?
Remind me.
I was looking for the abomination.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
talking about an abomination.
That's right. Wasn't it some like church in East Jerusalem? Or, well, I don't remember what it was. Maybe I made that up.
I had found a shrine to the Blessed Virgin Mary, which was a brand new shrine. The forms were still on it. It was in the place where I expected it to be. It was being built just before I expected it to be installed, and everything was lining up, and then it wasn't installed. And then you and I went out for supper.
And where was that again? Wasn't
So
that like somewhere near the Mount of Olives or something?
it's the Mount of Offense, what history calls Golgotha.
Okay.
Okay, so now
The
I
Mount of
might
Offense. Wait, is that Jebel Mukaber? Help me out. Remind me.
I don't know what that name is. That might
No,
be. I'm
is
not
that
sure.
where the United Nations is located?
No, no, it's across the
Oh,
valley from the United Nations.
oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. So
So
there was
you
supposed
got
to
you
be a
got the
shrine of the Virgin Mary and it wasn't set up. So you lost me. The Virgin Mary is the abomination of desolation.
well, any statue is an abomination. Okay, so we have this clue. In the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifices. So what happened in 2020? Everything went for a lockdown.
Yeah.
Now, who announced that lockdown on March 11th? And that's when I began my count from.
Who did? Remind me. Was it Fauci? I don't remember.
No, not who, the World Health
Oh, oh,
Organization.
oh, who? The World Health Organization. Okay.
Yeah, they announced,
All
no,
right.
I wasn't asking you a question. That was
This is like who's on first. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Who? The World
No,
Health Organization. Okay. On March
they
11th.
announced the pandemic on March 11th, and they
Right.
advised everyone to start locking down. Now, what I didn't understand at that time was that Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu, locked down Israel on March 25th. Okay, so
Okay.
what does that mean? Well, okay, it doesn't mean nothing if you stay in Daniel 9. Flip over the page to Daniel 12.
And my sister got a ticket going for a walk in a like what you would call in America a forest preserve or a like a nature reserve because she wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah,
And there was a
Daniel 12.
policeman who was standing at the entrance to this nature reserve. The ticket was actually eventually overturned because they're like, this is ridiculous. But she had to go to court. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stupid stuff went on, but there was fear. Nobody knew how to stop this thing. Daniel
But there was
12.
no reasonable reason to think that someone out in the ocean on a paddleboard could infect anybody else. That wasn't reasonable. Come on.
Well, you can get the blue
Even
whales.
even at the time. You can
The
get the
blue whales
whale.
might get sick.
Yeah, get the walruses all sick. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay, so now jump to Daniel 12, verse 11.
Daniel
And from
12.
the time that the daily, the word sacrifice has been added, from the time that the daily is taken away
Uh,
and the abomination of desolation set up, there shall be 1,290 days.
okay.
So the question I ask people, what is the daily? When I'm talking about this for the last number of years, 2020 was in front of me. We didn't know exactly what we were looking for, but we knew something was coming,
So
and that's
you were
what I was.
expecting something in 2020 and you've been vindicated because of the pandemic, is what you're
If
saying.
nothing happened in 2020, I was closing up sightedmoon.com,
Okay.
and I'm still here.
All right.
So now, what happened in 2020 is now history. We can look back. So where is the daily? What is the daily that was taken away?
You tell me.
Every synagogue, every temple, every mosque, every church, every place of worship around the world went into lockdown.
Hmm. But not the liquor stores in Texas, that I can tell you.
Not the liquor stores in Texas.
Just
No.
like blows my mind.
Yeah. Netanyahu announced on March 25th,
Uh,
2020. I believe that was the first day of Aviv for the Hillel calendar, I think. And they
okay.
went into lockdown. You could not have 10 men get together for a prayer at that time.
And
You went
that
into,
was the first Passover that my mother spent alone in her life, and she is not young. So, well, I mean, she's very
yeah,
young, but she's my mother. So figure that out.
yeah. And I've had 2 Passovers with you and your mother. So,
Yeah, but not this
but
one. This one she did
not
over
this
the.
one. No, not this one. So
Yeah.
the daily, what is the daily? Hosea 14:2. The bullocks of your lips shall be our offering, right? I'm really butchering that scripture. Hosea
Hosea
14:2.
4, which by the way, in some of the translations they change. This is actually really interesting. They changed the word hold on, let me find it here. Um, uh, Hosea 14. I think it's a different verse in in English numberings, but Hosea, opened up Joshua 14:2. There it is. Okay. It says, Return Israel to Jehovah your God, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. Take with you words and return to Jehovah. Say to him, Forgive all iniquity, or literally bear all iniquity, and uh, and take good, and let us pay for the bulls with our lips. And some translations translate, Let us pay with the fruit of our lips. So they
Yeah.
change the word parim to perot, which is it's actually changing the Hebrew. As far as I know, there's no manuscript that says that I'm aware of, at least.
So instead of doing the morning and evening sacrifice at the
Mhm.
temple, We're
Okay.
now doing those morning and evening sacrifices with the prayers of our lips at 9 and 3 p.m. every day.
Okay. So you're
Okay,
saying there
so
was no minyan, there was no prayer quorum that got together during this period, and that's the daily the prayers that represent the daily sacrifice is what you're saying. And just so people understand, rabbinical Judaism, they actually have an idea that each prayer represents and is a actual fulfillment of a certain sacrifice. So much so there's a prayer on Shabbat called Musaf, which means the additional, and it refers to the additional sacrifice, right? So there's a morning sacrifice that a prayer is said for, and then around 10, well, it depends, I guess, when you start your prayer. But sometime later in the service is a second additional prayer that's being offered through the lips, right? So in other words, I would read this at least today, and I would say it doesn't mean that if I, accidentally ate pork, that I go and recite this, specific prayer in place of that bull. But in general, I'm full of sin and I should offer prayer in place of sacrifice. But the rabbis take this very directly. There are daily sacrifices, and you have to offer specific prayers as a fulfillment of those daily sacrifices. And even on Shabbat, an additional prayer in place of that daily sacrifice. That's just the background here. So you're
yeah,
saying Daniel 9 is referring to those prayers.
that's what I'm that's
Okay.
what I'm reading, that's what I'm understanding. And this
Okay.
actually, Hosea 14:2 is a half Torah portion for Shabbat Shuvah as well. So it comes in
Which
again
is
later
which
on.
is when in our story? Help me out there. I
Shabbat
don't.
Shabbat Shuvah is the Sabbath between the Day of Trumpets, or the Feast of Trumpets, and the Day of Atonement. So
Right, but
there's
how does
at
that fit
least
into
one Sabbath.
what does that have to do with the pandemic? That's what I'm, or it doesn't.
Well, that's later. I'm just giving you,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
throwing you a bone. That's keep it for
All
later.
right.
Okay.
All right. And people go listen to
Okay.
Prophet Pearls.
So
I
now,
think we covered that somewhere.
yeah. So I'm in Israel. I'm looking for this abomination. And Keith hears, I'm going to bring Keith into it because Keith was a part of this. And that's my 3 o'clock alarm going off there, by the way. So I went and met Yehuda Glick. You know Yehuda Glick.
Uh-huh. Of
And I
course, Rabbi
warned him.
Yehuda Glick.
I gave him my book, The 2300 Days of Hell, and 2 weeks later, an assassination attempt was made on his life. That was in 2014, I believe.
Right.
So
I
he's
think he
read
was
the
shot
book.
3 times in the chest, if memory serves.
I thought it was 7 times.
Might have been 7, right? Very well. It wasn't just like Trump where they nicked his ear. Let's put it that way.
No, he was shot
Right.
all over the place, and he
Yeah.
survived.
Yeah.
So he agreed to meet with me. I showed him what I'm trying to explain to you. Um, then he got a little, I'm not really don't sure if I want to hear this, but I told him Israel is about to be attacked. It's going to be a major attack. I don't know where, how, but it's about to happen. Then Keith heard about it. Keith thought I'd lost my mind. I also wrote a letter to Prime Minister Netanyahu advising him, but I don't know how far that got. But Keith thought I'd lost my mind. So he
And this
met
was
with
in
me
2020, or no, when was this? Sorry. This was
2023.
So this is just before October 7th. You wrote a message to Netanyahu, Israel's about to be attacked. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Wow. And this is something that you figured out based on this study of the sabbatical cycles.
What we just read, these scriptures. From the time
Okay.
that Netanyahu locked down Israel on March 25th, 1,290 days later brings you to October 6th.
And about 1,200 people were murdered that day. So that's interesting.
And at that time, I thought it was 340 at the
On
at the
October 7th? Oh, well, in the attack, right? Meaning, I don't know how many specifically on the first day, but I don't know that we even have the
on October
final
6th.
number.
October 6th, there was nobody killed. That's a
No,
Friday night.
October 7th I'm talking about. The October 7th massacres culminated in, they originally said 1,500. Now I think the count is somewhere in the 1,200s. So,
Yes, yeah.
okay. But
And
we don't
there's
know exactly because there are bodies that,
yeah,
like
there was
it's
1,400 and
brutal.
change. 1,200 were killed.
Yeah.
250 or so were kidnapped, and we don't know how
Right.
many of them are alive.
Right.
So that day affected my life. I've been watching every detail about this since then, on every hostage. It was traumatic. And I wasn't even involved, and it was traumatic. But October 6th is the 1,290 day count. And it says
Mhm.
that in 1290 days, the abomination will be set up. Well, there's no statue of Mary where I'm expecting it. But I'm looking, and all of a sudden, there's all these thousands of rockets going up, and they don't stop like they normally do after 10 minutes. Something's different this time. And we got shrapnel landing in Jerusalem, and the rockets are exploding over Jerusalem, and I'm feeling the concussions in Jerusalem, and I think you too.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah. What is going on? And we don't know anything that's going on. We just what do we do? And I'm staying on the Mount of Offense. I'm in Arab Jerusalem, the place where you won't go. Yeah, and there's gunfire and there's stuff starting up, and then what the heck have I got myself into? Right? It was a scary time. How
You're
do we?
staying like in a hostel or guest house or something in
I
that
was staying
area?
at.
There aren't hotels there, are there? I mean, it's the kind of a
Well,
dangerous.
there's a Panorama Hotel is
Oh, I guess
there,
there are. Okay.
but I had to move there because they were getting very suspicious of me in the convent where I was staying.
Okay. You
So
were staying in a convent to begin with? Oh, I
that's
remember
where
that, I think.
that's where the
Oh, didn't I
abomination
drop you off
was set
somewhere
up.
near there
No,
that we
you
could go
dropped me
in?
off. You dropped me off at the small gate. Made me walk all the way over there.
Yeah, that's a place I can't go, so because I would be killed.
I know you. I understand. I'm not complaining, but
Or there's a
I just
chance
sort of
at
kind of
very
laughed.
least my car
That
would be
was
stoned.
well,
All right.
yeah, yeah. I'm not. Anyway, so the 1290 days. So I'm in the Kidron Valley. I'm praying to Jehovah. Why is He letting this happen to His people? Where's God?
Yeah.
I'm hearing bits and pieces Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. There's so many people being killed, and what's going on? Saturday night, after praying this, after getting mad at God for letting this happen, these people were, in my brain, these people were keeping Shemini Atzeret. They were obeying God. They were celebrating all night at Shemini Atzeret. And, I'm not trying to judge anybody, but they weren't. They
They
weren't
weren't
keeping the
because they were
holy
on the
days.
wrong date? What are you saying?
No, they weren't keeping the holy days. They were having a rave. It has nothing to do with
Oh,
Jehovah,
okay.
right? And I'm not trying to judge anybody. Again, my heart goes out.
Mhm.
But I can't deny what I'm reading, and I can't stay silent because of Ezekiel 33. You got to, when you see the sword, you got to tell people.
Mhm.
And if they think you're nuts, they think you're nuts. And Keith thought I was nuts. October 7th, Yehuda Glick wrote me and said, you were right. The next day, Keith wrote me and said, wow, you were right.
Mhm.
You know, but what was I right about? I was right about this major disaster. Who wants to be right about that? Saturday night, somebody sent me a video, and I don't have a picture of it, but in the video of the rave, at the beginning of the videos, most of them that you can see, there's a giant Buddha, inflated Buddha statue over top of the DJ tent. And you see them all dancing around the DJ tent Friday night and all day Sunday,
Mhm.
all day Saturday, Friday night and Saturday morning. And then as the gliders are coming in, you still see them dancing. And then the sirens go off and they all start running for their lives. And then the inflatable Buddha deflates and nobody sees it anymore. It will be in the corner of a holy place. The holy place that he's talking about, which I didn't realize, is Kadesh Barnea. That is where Kadesh Barnea is out there. The fringe of the altar, or the corner of the altar, the fringe of Israel is Gaza. It's at the fringes, at the outer.
So wait, back up. So the Nova rave you're saying took place in the biblical site of Kadesh Barnea,
Yes.
and you're saying that they set up a Buddha there, which was the abomination of desolation?
I wouldn't, it's abomination. I think there's more coming.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
I think,
are you saying that the book of Daniel predicted the Nova massacre or the Nova rave? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that Jehovah is real. And if you treat him like nothing, you could die.
Well, and that's a theological statement that I don't actually disagree with. But are you saying that but in
Well,
the
when Israel
specifics,
set
is
up the
the
golden calf, 3,000
yeah.
people died and
So
they are
is
buried
is
there beside
so
my
is the
son.
Buddha at the Nova Rave predicted in the Book of Daniel? Is that what you're saying? Because it's the first time I've ever heard that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that's what it's pointing to right now.
Okay, gotcha.
It matches precisely the 1290 days. Now, if you go back to
Okay,
Daniel 12 and you read verse 12,
yeah.
blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1335 days. Now, the people in my group were arguing with me about, well, we were discussing it, not arguing, we were discussing it. And I didn't know where that fit in.
Okay.
But if you count the 1335 days again from March 25th, 2020, that brings you to November 21, I believe it is, November 22nd, and 2 days later, the first hostages are released.
Okay. So the release of the hostages was also predicted, according to you, in the Book of Daniel.
It's what I'm reading.
Okay. What's coming
What I'm
next?
reading.
That's what
What's
everyone
coming
is
next?
like listening. What
Okay,
what's
so
coming
then,
next according, and you could be wrong, but
well, let me just add a
you've
little
been
bit
right
more to
before,
this.
so
Let me add a little bit more to this.
yes.
Netanyahu locked down Israel again on September 18th, September 25th, and
2020,
November
you mean?
2020. Yes,
All
September
right.
18th, 25th, and December 27th in 2020. When we count 1290 days later, that brought us to the just about the time that Israel attacked the embassy in Damascus. 7 days later, Iran attacks. It's approximate. It's not 100%. Each of the 1335 days at that time was when negotiations for the hostages began, but they fell through. Then the December one just ended here, and that was the Iranian attack on Israel. So I don't know what this means, but I'm seeing patterns developing here.
So based on these patterns, we're August 26, 2024. What's the next date you think something significant is going to happen?
2024.
Yeah, but when? When in
Well,
2024?
see, this is the thing. So in the fall holy days, we have the Feast of Trumpets and the Day of Atonement. And during
Okay.
that time, there's the 10 days of awe.
Okay.
During those 10 days of awe, it's a time the shofars are blown, the trumpets are blown, and it's a reminder to repent and get back to Jehovah so that your name will be found in the book of life by the end of the Day of Atonement when the Tekiah Gadola is sounded, the last shofar blast as the sun sets, right?
All right. So
Okay,
you're saying, is this on the rabbinical reckoning that this is going to happen? So in other words, October 12th, 2024 is the rabbinical date of Yom Kippur, and that's when something major is going to happen?
I don't
Or
know.
by then?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. What are
I
you
don't.
predicting? What's
I'm
your
not predicting. Here I'm predicting. So here's what I am predicting. 2044, at the end of 2044, begins the Jubilee year of 2045. That's the beginning of the seventh millennium. These Sabbatical and Jubilee years, 120 of them, prove that beyond doubt. I have
so
more
so
proof.
is Yeshua coming back in 2044 or 45? What do you,
Hang on. What
according
you
to your
just let me
understanding?
answer one question before you answer another one.
All right.
24, so no matter what theology you subscribe to, I don't care if you're Pentecostal, Protestant, or Jewish, whatever end time theology you subscribe to, you have from 2024 to 2024 to 2044 for all end time prophecy to take place. That will
Whoa,
be the
hold
end of
on.
the
So
sixth
all end
millennium
times
day.
prophecy is going to begin this year and
No,
culminate
it's
in
already
20.
begun.
Okay.
It's been
And it's
going
going to
on for a
culminate in
while.
2020. So we are in the end times,
Yes,
literally according to your understanding.
100% for sure.
And it's going to culminate in 2044 or 45.
No, it must
Oh,
be, whatever theology you subscribe to must be done by then.
right.
Now,
Well, isn't that
I
going to
believe in
culminate?
Yeshua, and Yeshua said, unless those days were cut short, so they're going to be cut shorter than that. So now let me show you something else. Now, this, again, you may not agree with this. This is coming from the book of Luke.
Okay.
Okay? Luke says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the last days. And what that means is that when you're getting married, when you're buying property, when you're eating and drinking, because that's what he says, when that happens, what's that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Were they bad for doing that? it says the same thing in the days of Lot. As in the days of Lot, they were eating and drinking and partying and getting married and blah, buying property. That's not evil. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything until you look at the Jubilee cycle. So Noah's flood was in the year 1656, over here on the right-hand side,
All right.
which is equal to 2181 BC.
Okay.
Okay. It's in the sixth sabbatical cycle, of that Jubilee cycle, and it took place in the fourth year at the second Passover. So the fourth year, counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a time of judgment on the world. So we go down to as it was in the days of Lot, and Lot was the year before Isaac was born. That's 2047 from the creation of Adam, which is the year 1790 BC. And that's the third year, again at Passover, when Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed. A major judgment at that time. Now here's what Luke didn't say, as it was in the days of Joseph. Here's Joseph's 7 days of plenty in purple and 7 years of famine in red. And the famine ends in the third year of the sixth sabbatical cycle. But I can't use that as my proof because Luke doesn't talk about it. When you compare each of these together to our time today, that equals the year 2033, 2034 as the time of judgment. So when I did this as an experiment, I understood that the eighth day feast, the ones that the Jews don't know what it means, is equivalent to the Jubilee year. So I make 2045, the Jubilee year, the eighth day feast. And I count back 7 days for the Sukkot, which is from 2044 to 2038. I make a day for a year. And then 5 days before that for the Day of Atonement. So what would be the judgment now? It would be when Satan is locked away. That's the Azazel goat is thrown in the pit in Leviticus 16.
Wait, slow down. So Satan is locked away now in 2024?
2033.
Oh, 2033, Satan will be locked away.
So that represents the Day of Atonement. And 10 years before that, the 10 days of awe represent 2024 to 2033.
Oh, so we're in for 10 years of bad stuff,
Yes.
is your prediction. Okay.
Stay away from the fan because there's a lot of crap flying.
Okay. I hear you. I can imagine what it's like to, well, I can't even imagine. Like if you're living on the border, of Russia and Ukraine, this is about as bad as it can get. So.
No, it's not.
No, it's not? Okay.
No. If we go to Daniel 8, are you okay? You gonna go to Daniel 8 or are you still
Go
catching?
for it. No, I'm definitely still catching my breath and trying to follow. And I'm looking for what we call in Hebrew the tachlis. What's the bottom line, right?
The
Like
bottom line?
Yeah, the bottom line of news I can use, of some practical application of this.
Okay.
Or what's a hypothesis that I can test where if it doesn't happen, Joe's wrong? Because I like that in 2020, you're about to shut down your
2020 was a
website.
hypothesis you could have tested.
What's the next one I can test? Is there any in 2024 between August 26th and December 31st?
If your readers want to test this, I wrote the book, The 10 Days of Awe. So it's on Amazon, it's on my website. They can go and get it. It's 600 or 700, I don't know how to write a small book. So it's 600 or 700 pages. That's going to talk about what we're going to share here now.
Okay. And maybe it's not fair that I'm asking you for the peanut shell version of a 700-page book. Okay.
Okay, so Daniel 8, you got the ram, and is that
we don't want that. That's backlit. That's really bad. Oh.
Okay, let me get rid of that.
Still not great. That's even worse. That's better. Yeah, now we can see you.
Okay, it's just getting dark here. In Daniel 8, it's talking about the goat from the east coming against the ram and destroying it. And the ram is Medo-Persia. So in this prophecy, so we went through this yesterday, verse by verse, and explained it to everybody. And I just shared it and said, what do you see? And everyone started to see it. It's talking about the Ottoman Empire. the Medo-Persian goat or ram is the Ottoman Empire. And it's destroyed in 1916, 17. Out of that empire come these four other nations: Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Iran. There's also Saudi Arabia in there, but that's a fifth one, which
Was
isn't
that
the
was Iran
fifth.
part of the Ottoman Empire? I didn't
Yes,
really.
wasn't it?
I,
I'm pretty
you
sure it
know what?
was.
That's not my field of expertise, but someone
I'm pretty
Google it and
sure.
post it in the comments.
Okay, yeah, somebody will Google it, correct me. So out of that, the little horn is Iran, is pushing to the east and the west and the north. So
Wow.
now we go in here, and I don't know where it is. It's talking about, oh, verse 13, Daniel 8, verse 13. Then I heard a holy one speaking. So who's the holy one? That's a question I asked. And another holy one said to that certain one who is speaking, how long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifices?
Sorry, you're
So
in
it's
Daniel
coming
8,
back
what verse?
13.
Okay, let me follow. Yeah. All right, go on.
How long? So we're coming back to the daily sacrifice again. How long will it be concerning the vision of the, sorry, how long will the vision be concerning the daily sacrifices and the transgressions of desolation, the giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot? So when I looked at every word here, the word sanctuary can also be translated as saints. It's the saints that are going to be trampled underfoot. Do you see that or not?
I mean,
Your
so
mouth is.
no, it says Kodesh v'tzava mirmas. Or Kodesh is holiness, it can mean, but saints would be something like Kadoshim, like a plural. No, I mean
Yeah.
Kodesh. So yeah, I don't. But hey, let's move on. Yeah, that's not
Okay. Well,
how I could read it, but
okay.
yeah.
And he said to me, for 2,300 days, then the sanctuary or the saints will be cleansed or will be vindicated, is what I have.
All right.
So
Uh,
now, okay, so here's, I'm going to jump out of your realm and I'm jumping into the New Testament, going to the book of Revelation.
all right.
Okay, so we have in Revelation chapter 6, we have the six seals or seven seals. The first seal is the white horse. And that is a religion that's going out to conquer. And we all know which one's doing that today.
Which
And that's
one?
it.
Tell me.
I don't want to say it on the air because you could get banned for life.
Oh, and you're actually Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you literally have to self-censor here. Go on.
Yes, I
All right.
do. Then the next red horse, or the next horse is the red horse. Then the third horse is the pale horse, and the fourth one is the black one. And there are certain nations that are attacking Israel that all have those colors as the flag:
Wait, what are the colors again then? Color of the flag. Help me.
white, red, green, black.
So what nations have those? It's interesting because there aren't that many colors in all the flags in the world, but there are a specific set of countries that particularly like green because they consider
How
it a
about
holy color.
Hamas?
Yeah. Well, no, but in general, green is considered a holy color in a certain religion. Okay. Well, it's interesting in Israel, you'll see shrines that are painted blue, and that's a Jewish shrine. It might be a idolatrous shrine, like to a dead rabbi, but it's a Jewish affiliated shrine, and then green is a different color, a different religion. Okay, go ahead. I don't want to
Okay,
get
so
you
I've
in
got a
trouble with
video out there.
Justin Trudeau or whoever that guy is. All
Yeah,
right.
I've got a video out there that I can't share on YouTube or on Facebook, which explains this in great detail. It's
So
very
where's that
brutal,
video that
very.
people can see if they want to find it?
Um, I can send you a link if you want,
So there's
and
like
you
a
can put it
secret
in your
link you
note.
have to get because there's literally censorship going on. All right. Wow, that's amazing.
It's a big secret. Don't
I
tell
never
nobody.
thought I would live in this world,
Again,
but
you
here I
have to.
am.
We have to be careful today.
Yeah.
So
I
the
mean, I remember
2,300
this
days,
kind of
if we
thing
count that,
I remember this kind of censorship when we lived during the Cold War, and you'd hear about this in the Soviet Union. But now this is going on in Canada with, what do you call that? You have like these kangaroo courts
yeah,
called like a human rights tribunal or something. I mean, it's insanity. All right, go ahead.
yeah. but it's everywhere. You see
Yeah.
these major marches, and they're flying these same color flags. They can do that, but if you carry an Israeli flag, you're going to be arrested for disturbing the peace.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the time we're in now.
All
Again,
right.
so and in Revelation 6, you got those six horses. The fifth seal is the souls underneath the altar that are martyred. And they're told to wait. And they're saying, how long until you vindicate us? So I'm connecting that vindication back to this 2300 here.
Okay.
So when we count from March
Right. So
20,
we have the vindication. That's definitely there in Daniel 8:14. Okay.
yeah. And I'm connecting that to the vindication in Revelation 6,
Okay.
the fifth seal, whatever number that is.
All right.
So these 2300 days start from the first time Netanyahu locks down Israel. That brings us to July, July 12th, I think it is, in 2026. Okay, so now,
Are we still looking at the timeline here, or do you want to
yes, we
stop
are.
share?
And
Oh, we
I'm
are.
about
Okay.
to jump back onto
Okay.
that.
All right.
Okay? If, big capital IF, biggest word in the Bible, if I'm correct, and Satan's going to be locked away at atonement in 2033, that's at the end of the 3.5 year tribulation, the Great Tribulation, which begins at Passover in 2030. At Passover in 2030, the two witnesses of Revelation are killed. They speak for 3.5 years. There's no rain on the earth. That brings you to 2026.
No rain as in water and precipitation, or
And I
RAI?
understand that there's no rain anywhere on the
Okay.
earth.
Wow.
This is a major famine. They begin their work, I want to say in the fall of 2026, but this 2300 days is telling me it's July 12th, which is throwing me off here, and I'm not sure why.
Okay.
But I'm going to report it because that's what I'm seeing.
And that's in
Okay.
2020, July 6th,
July
2026.
12th,
Sorry, July 12th, 2026. Something
I
big's going to
believe
happen.
yes. Well, not this. It's going to be something involving the two witnesses. It may not be
The two
big, but it could
witnesses.
be. I
Okay.
don't know.
Will be big for the two witnesses.
And that is just 2 years from now, Nehemia.
Less than 2 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now the 10 days of awe represent the 10 days the trumpets are sounded to warn you. So I was in a dilemma. So the first holy day is 2024. Shabbat Shuvah is 2030. The Day of Atonement is a holy day. Do we sound the trumpets on those days? And I don't know.
And here,
I'm
days
looking-
represent years. Is that right?
These are representing years, yes.
Okay.
So now I go back to the book of Revelation,
Yeah.
written by a Jew named John.
hmm
Just trying to give it a
Right.
little bit with you.
Okay.
And he says there are 7 trumpet plagues which start in Revelation 8, I'm sorry. So I did not know to apply the trumpets to 24 to 30 or 25 to 29 and 31 and 32. And I'm not sure which are going to be. We're going to find out. But you're looking for something, some great big thing to look for. The first trumpet is, which I believe is in 2024, 1/3 of the trees, 1/3 of the grass will be burnt up.
So that's going to
Is
happen
that
between now and the end of 2024?
That's my understanding.
Or are
Or
these Hebrew years? What's the time frame here?
I believe the year begins Aviv to Aviv.
So in other words, between now and March, let's say roughly March,
Yep.
maybe February, according to you, 2025, there's going to be burning up of
1/3 of the trees.
in the world or in Israel
That's the
or
part I don't know. Is it the world? Is it the United States and Canada? Is it the land of Israel? And if you look on a map right now, about 1/3 of Israel is up in the north and on fire from Lebanon, from the
oh,
rocky.
so maybe this is already happening with these
I don't
massive
know.
fires. Oh,
What I'm doing, Nehemia, is I'm reading the scriptures and I'm trying to see where it fits
yeah.
today according to the Jubilee cycle.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say this is what's going to happen. I'm saying here's the prophecy that I believe fits in this chronology.
Hmm.
But the second trumpet is the one that I'm concerned about. So, have you got Revelations there?
Let me. I believe the book is called Revelation singular.
Okay,
Um,
yes, you're right.
so let me pull that up on my little
Revelation
software.
8.
Oh, here it is. Give me a second to. I got to pull up accordance. Revelation 8, or you can start reading. And I'll get there while
Okay.
you.
Then the second
What
angel
verse
sounded,
one are we in? What are we? Just so I know how to catch
8,
up.
8.
Eight
Revelation
eight.
8.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the
Okay.
second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain, burning with fire, was thrown into the sea. And a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships was destroyed. So when I read that, the great mountain is a nation,
Huh.
and it's a nation going down into the sea. The sea is people, and this nation is going down in flames. So it's a revolution, a war, a riot, something. Now that's the second trumpet, and according to my understanding, which is still it's fluxing and changing, is 2025.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
there's two things that go with this. Right now, I see Kamala Harris possibly winning this election, and she's all woke up, and she doesn't like Israel. That scares me.
What do you mean she's woke up?
The
You mean in the
second
sense
scenario,
of like woke? What does it mean?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
woke, right?
Okay.
The other one is I see Trump winning and all the riots beginning. Either he wins or loses, riots are going to come because January 6th all over again. Or I don't know. I just, I got a bad feeling about this election this year
In the United States.
in the United States. Now, but then if I go back to read Daniel 8, and what we did was we went through verse by verse yesterday and read Daniel 8. And if that is applying this to Israel, Daniel 8 is telling us that Israel is about to lose this war because that little horn is going to come up and defeat it.
And what's the
And
little horn here? Iran or?
Iran.
So if Israel wins the war, and I guess it. So what does losing the war look like? Because we could end the war tomorrow, and Hamas will say, "Well, Sinwar is still alive, so we won," even though Gaza is devastated
Yeah.
and will take decades to rebuild.
Yeah. Um,
Meaning death is their objective. So how do you define winning the war? Right.
Even if you killed him and you got your hostages back, that would be a victory for you, for the state of Israel. But Lebanon's still a threat, and Iran still hasn't finished their plan. So as I read Daniel 8, not Revelation 8, but Daniel 8, step by step, with this understanding, I see in the next 2 years Israel losing.
There's this expression of Pyrrhic victory, and it comes from an ancient Greek king who fought against the Romans, and he won. I think his name was Pyrrhus or something like that. And he said, "I don't know how many more of these victories we can afford. Right, we'll be ruined if we have too many more of these victories, right? Because they won it, but at such a high cost, right?
If
So
Kamala
so
Harris,
there could be a Pyrrhic victory here. I don't know.
if Kamala Harris gets in,
Yeah,
and you don't have the 2 or 3 U.S. fleets to shoot down all the missiles coming from Iran,
yeah.
you can only get some of them. I don't know if you can get them all yet. I hope I'm wrong, but based on the last one, you had a lot of help.
So
If
so
Dan,
I saw an interview with one of the former heads of the Israeli Air Force when the last time uh, Iran attacked with hundreds of uh, weapons, and we had knocked out something like 97 or 98%. He said when we designed these systems, our goal was to reach 80% interception. No one ever dreamed we would take out 97%.
yeah, I read 99. So
Whatever the
yeah,
number was, right? Who
I,
knows?
I'm
I
hoping
think
I'm
five ballistic missiles got through and they damaged an airfield somewhere.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
and
they
affecting
killed and
troops.
they killed
I just,
or seriously wounded a little Muslim girl, which,
yes.
from the Shiite perspective, that's a victory too. So,
So if you're looking for a test to what I'm saying,
mhm.
look for a great nation to fall through civil war or um, a war, not Ukraine, not Russia. It'll be United States, United Kingdom, or Israel, the state of Israel.
So one of those
And
countries is going to be defeated, according to you, probably in the next 2 years, between now and
okay,
2026, or in
well,
2024.
well, I don't think in 2024, but I think it's going to be 2025.
Okay.
The 2026 date, the two witnesses are coming back to vindicate the saints. If I'm understanding that correctly, they're vindicating the saints. Well, in order to vindicate the saints have to be destroyed and a bunch killed. And we're just
Who are the
running out of time.
saints in this context?
Okay, so my definition of saints would be the DNA descendants of the 12 tribes. They don't have to be holy Torah believers.
So, and then just so everyone understands, you're talking about the British Israelite theory, or what are you?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't call it a theory, I call it a
No.
fact.
All right. So the Northwestern Europeans is
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
Which
So
nation specifically is this? It's like Germany and Denmark or
no, Germany is
UK.
not included in
Oh,
that.
Germany's not included.
Holland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, a little bit of France, part of France, uh, the British Isles, and
Why
the
isn't
British
Germany
Congo.
included? Aren't they part of the Germanic nations?
They're
Aren't they
part of the
cousins of
Germanic
the
nations.
no, but aren't they okay, I guess we have different ideas of aren't they cousins of the Norwegians and the Angles and this I mean they're literally Angles and Saxons are from Germany, aren't they?
No, the Anglos and Saxons were tribes of Israel that went through Germany. Germany
Okay.
is a descendant from the Hittites, which were stationed in northern Israel and Turkey,
Okay.
modern day Turkey. So you can trace the German migration up to their when they migrated. This is
Okay.
during the
This sounds like this is a
Medo-Persian
different
Empire.
rabbit trail. Let's focus on the
Yeah,
world ending
yeah.
here. All right.
So again, you're looking for where's the thing to say Joe Duman's right or wrong. I am constantly changing. After 2020, I'm constantly changing and perfecting and refining my understanding.
Okay.
But it's based on these 10 days of awe. It's based on as it was in the days of Noah and Lot. It's based on the fall holy days converted to years. It's based on this final 120th Jubilee cycle. It's based on the 70th Jubilee cycle of Daniel 9. It's all right there in this Jubilee cycle that we're in.
So are we in the
And
year of Yom Teruah of what rabbis call Rosh Hashanah? Is that
I'm saying again, are we what?
are we in the year of Yom Teruah, what in rabbinical Judaism is called Rosh Hashanah, right? Is 2024 early 2025 the first of the 10
Yom
days of awe?
Teruah.
It is.
It's Yom Teruah. What's Yom Teruah?
Okay.
Now I don't want to say Rosh Hashanah. I want to say Yom Teruah.
All right, just
What
for the
is Yom
audience
Teruah?
who isn't familiar with the terminology, I mean, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you know the definition of
Can
Yom
we
Teruah?
stop the screen share because I think people are having trouble seeing us unless there's something
Okay.
specific. Yeah. Okay. Now they can see you better. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm not important. I think the charts are
Well,
important.
okay. Fair enough.
So Yom Teruah, you
Yeah.
teach, and I agree, is the day of shouting. Shouting.
Hmm.
So if we look at 2024, and I have some of the people in our group saying that that day of shouting began in the fall before Aviv, which is 2023.
Oh, okay.
And they could be right in that understanding. And they say that because the Day of Atonement in 2033 is in the fall. It doesn't go right to Aviv, it's in the fall. So they're
Mhm.
trying to count 10 full years from atonement to atonement.
What do you mean there's people in your group who are saying that? Like, because I'm talking to you, I don't know who the people in your group are. Are you
Okay,
part
so
of like a denomination or, and the
we
audience I'm
have
asking who may not know this?
every Shabbat, we have a midrash. We read the Torah portion based on a 3.5 year Torah schedule.
Mhm.
And then I let people debate and discuss, argue about what it says. And we learn a
Okay.
lot from each other. And we have some great teachers joining us. And,
And
I
where
may
does this
not
take place? Is this online or
On Zoom. So I have a weekly
how
newsletter.
can
Go to
people
the
join
website.
this if they want to at least, taste it and see if it's for them?
go to sightedmoon.com, look on
Yeah.
the latest newsletter, and it says join our Shabbat meeting.
Okay, does
And
it
you click
cost
on the
money,
tab
or
and
do you
there's a
have
link
to
there.
become a member, or what does it involve?
Yes, it requires you to pay $1,000 a week to Joe Dumont privately, and then you can join.
That's a joke, right?
Yes, don't you know me yet?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
it's,
asking for the audience who really doesn't know.
yeah,
Like
no.
in some groups,
Go to
if you want to go to their
sightedmoon.com.
study, you've got to be inducted and go through a
No,
baptism or something.
no,
I'm genuinely asking because I don't know.
no. Go to sightedmoon.com, hit the link, join our Shabbat, then hit the Zoom meeting. If we don't know you, we're going to ask you, how do you know Joe Dumont? Because we got hacked a few weeks ago and got a whole lot of
Oh,
crap on our sites. We had
but
to
if
shut it down.
somebody comes and says,
So
"Well, I
we're
heard
not asking
about
who you
you,
are, just tell me
I heard about you on Nehemia's
on Nehemia and Joe,
podcast." Okay, there you go. Oop,
and then we'll let you in.
okay,
So you raise your hand, you want to comment, I'll let you comment, right?
okay,
We got a good group of people.
gotcha.
Some of them are very strong, opinionated, which is good, but I'm not the only voice.
Okay,
So you've
gotcha.
been there, but I didn't let them, I didn't let them, Keith was there one time and I let them
Okay.
discuss
Oh,
with
I
Keith.
was on some kind of Zoom call that you had. That was part of that group. I don't know
Yeah,
where. I just
yeah,
joined it. I just clicked on a link. I don't. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So that's what it is. So
Okay.
again,
Gotcha.
so what I'm doing here, Nehemiah, is I'm showing this stuff, but
Hmm.
what I've shown you here now is a little picture on a TV screen and you don't see it. I have a 20 by 12-foot banner, 20 feet by 12 feet. And I walk you through this step by step. My teaching takes 8 hours.
Okay.
And I show you this. And then once we're done, scripture, like we've rushed through this today. What is it? Not an hour and a half? Yeah.
We're coming on, yeah, an hour and 40 minutes at this
Yeah,
point.
that's nothing.
No,
That's just the
I believe
introduction
you.
to this.
So the bottom line here is, and we're gonna have to wrap it up, but the bottom line here is people can learn more on sightedmoon.com. You've got books that they can read. And if you're right, between now and 2033, a lot of really bad things are going to happen. Is anything good going to happen between now and
Yes,
2023, 33?
our
Like what? Give us
Messiah,
what
your Messiah, my Messiah will be here and Satan will be gone by 2033.
by 2033. Okay. All right. So we can leave. There's a saying like we always in Judaism like to to end on a good note, right? So this is the good note we're ending on. The Messiah will come and Satan will be locked up by 2033. And is that literally an angel called Satan, or what is Satan?
I did not hear anything you said. Sorry, you're
Oh,
frozen.
all right. Well, I was at. Can you hear me now? Well,
Yes, sir.
maybe that's a sign we should wrap up. So is Satan's going
Hello?
to be locked up by 2033?
No. Yes, I'm saying Satan will be locked up by 2033,
Okay.
and then King David will be here. I forgot this. Micah, I believe, says that Jehovah is going to lead King David up to Jerusalem from the south of the Dead Sea. And behind King David will be the remnant of Israel.
And is that the resurrected David? Because David's dead right now, as far as I know. So
Yes, sir.
okay. And literally David, you
So
mean not?
David will be resurrected.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Not
Wow.
somebody pretending to be David, the real David. And this is coming in 2033.
And how
So the
does
resurrection
Yeshua
takes
play into
place then.
that? If
Everyone's wondering
David,
what chapter it
if David's leading
is.
Israel, how
Sorry?
does Yeshua play into that? We've got a bit of a
We don't
lag
want to
here.
discuss that right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, there, guys. You heard
Okay,
it. You
so
got to
Isaiah
go.
43,
Yeah.
I am Jehovah. I am Jehovah, I am your Savior. Isaiah 43, I don't know what verse. Isaiah 12, I am Jehovah, I am your Yeshua, I will become your Yeshua. And that's how they're the same
Guys, if you
person
want
to
to
me.
know more, you can go to sightedmoon.com and join one of the Shabbat groups and ask these questions. And hopefully the lag won't be as intense that time. Any final words,
One
Joe?
last thing, one
Yes.
last thing.
Yeah.
Jehovah told you in your dream or vision, caused you to believe that you needed to interview me today. This is, for me, it's the seventh day of the feast, the great libation, Makor Hebrew foundation, the wells of living water. I think everything that happened here today is significant. And if your dream, and I'm not a big dream believer, and you've done this, I believe we need to pay attention to this. The Jubilee cycles are important, and we're at the end. So we got to stop playing games. We got to stop hating on each other because we don't part our hair the same way, right? We got
I'm
to
a big
stop that.
believer in that. Don't
Yeah.
hold man's hair against him.
So the Messianics are still messed up. They got
Okay.
to come back, and the time to repent is now. Come back to Jehovah, come back to the Torah, stop all this other stuff that you're doing that's not Jehovah. It's not Torah. It's a deception. Come back and study your Bible. And if the Bible's boring and something else is more interesting, then you're being deceived. It's time. Now is the time. We don't have any more time for playing games. It's going to get worse. We need each other, the toes, the feet, the butts, the chest. We all need each other. But we're not the same. And if we don't unite, we're dead. And
Do
I'm
we all
telling
have to be
you,
the
we are
same to
now out of
unite,
time.
or can we have differences and unite? I'm genuinely asking what you're saying.
We can have differences and still be united.
I
We
mean
don't
that
have to
that's a
hate each
beautiful
other
thing.
because we
That's a
don't
beautiful
agree on
thing to
stuff.
end on. We have this, this concept in Jewish history, sinat chinam, which is free hate, where you hate somebody for no reason. And the opposite is ahavat chinam, free love, where you love somebody for no good reason. You love them just because you really just because they're your brother and sister,
Say
right?
that again. Avahak vinan,
Ahavat chinam.
avahak vinan.
Which chinam, so that means free love, but in the sense of free as in there's no good reason why I love you, but I love you because we are united in a common purpose, even though we don't maybe see eye to eye, and we're brothers and sisters, all part of God's people, and so we should love each other not because you did something for me or it benefits me in some way, but just love for no good reason for free. So, just in the way that people hate for no good reason for free.
I hope that everybody will share this and talk about it at your next Shabbat meeting with your own group.
Mhm.
If you want me to come and explain it, I can do Zoom, I can do it in person, whatever you want. It needs to be talked about.
All
Time's
right.
up.
All right.
Thank
And on that
you.
note, shalom.